Welcome to the Next Level Podcast.
Yeah.
Yo, welcome to the Next Level Podcast. Thank you so much for being here tonight. We are talking today about the listing process. And this is very important, okay? You got to know what the process looks like so that if you're thinking about doing something like this, you know what to expect. And if you already know what this process looks like, then this is a great refresher for you to just keep moving forward on. So let's talk about it, man. Let's do it.
I like
Yeah,
that.
no,
This is a
I
great
like
topic.
the idea of the refresher because, you know, it's constantly changing. The market
Oh yeah.
never stays the same, so you have to change your habits, change your
Gotta
tactics,
Yeah.
adapt. Yeah,
100%. 100%.
Yeah. So what is the process right now for just generally 3,000 foot overview? Let's let the people know what's our rhythm for listing a property. If it's and is there a difference between listing a flip versus listing a traditional, property? What does that look like?
First of all, I'd like to say your
Go ahead.
voice sounds very sexy now.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
I'd like to start off
Yeah.
with that.
Yeah,
It's
it has
the juices
I
going.
don't know. It's a little
Yeah, it's
deeper octave.
a little raspy.
Yeah.
Yeah,
there.
I
So Bailey's.
had some surgery and I asked the doc, hey, make it a little raspier.
Yeah, it looks like you got a lot more bass.
Yeah.
No, so Felix. Oh, see, now I got you all confused with your voice. I couldn't tell the difference between you.
Yeah, I
and
got
Felix.
a
happens.
little bug. I got a little bug that makes my voice a little choppy, but we're getting through
Damn.
it.
We'll get through it.
All
Ain't
right,
nothing
so
to it but to get through it.
Let's do it.
So as Bailey, he mentioned he wants to know, what's the difference, and really we don't treat him any differently.
Okay.
We give him, we give him the same type of treatment because we want to make sure that the properties are marketed in the correct way.
Mm-hmm.
So it's kind of tough because sometimes you have beautiful properties, and you just really want to showcase them, right? Then you have properties where you're like maybe not as excited about them because they may not show as well. They're not staged, or they're not vacant where they don't photo as well.
Yeah.
But you still have to give it the same due respect.
What do you mean? What do you mean by that? Not show as well. What does that mean?
Well, I think if you've been in the real estate business or you went to go see a house yourself, I mean, the best way is to put yourself in the eyes and the shoes of the buyer.
Mm-hmm.
And so when in a property you walk in, you go, oh wow, this is like magazine ready. This is
Right,
photo-
like for example, like if there's a bunch of dirty clothes or it's dirty or it's
yeah,
not
and you
clean,
run into
Yeah.
that.
doesn't show well.
It's a feeling when you walk into the house,
And
Yeah.
they don't have, and a lot of buyers, not all of them, but a lot of buyers, they sometimes can't see past that. They can't see what's underneath that pile of dirt, underneath that pile of dirty clothes, and that can prevent them from actually seeing your home for what it's actually worth.
Yeah, and that can kind of be like a sensitive subject when you're talking to a seller and they live in the home. It's their house, it's their domain, they own it.
Yeah, how do you talk to them about that?
And you have to tell them, the way we usually say is we like to get the property in the best condition so we can sell it for the most amount of money
That's
for
right.
you and do the best job we can for you. So we want to leave it in a way that, or we want to photo it and present it to potential buyers in a way that they fall in love with the home.
Yeah.
And so,
and it's so important in this market too because, I mean, depending on the price range and the affordability of the home, the feeling when somebody walks into a house is make or break.
yeah, the
There's-
feeling, the smell, everything, your senses are in full tune.
Yeah.
And, most people are buying a home for themselves. So they're thinking about, okay, can I see my family in this home? They're not typically looking at it from the investment perspective. So we have to put
Absolutely.
different type of goggles on.
Absolutely.
And so I was just talking with another agent up in Phoenix, and we were talking about it right now. We're in a funny market. It's not a seller's market. It's not a buyer's market. Well, it could be a seller's market. It could be a buyer's market. It could not be. So in different price ranges, it's a seller's market still. In different price ranges, it's a buyer's market. So there's kind of a standoff going on right now. And so you have sellers, they don't want to reduce their price. At this point, they're still asking, top dollar. They still want the increase in appreciation, and they don't want to give up anything. And right now, the buyer, they're asking for the world themselves. So when they put the offer, we're seeing, people come in aggressive, aggressively under the price is what I mean by that. They're coming in with an aggressive offer for themselves, and so they're writing it in a way that they want concessions, they want inspection periods, and so they feel like they're getting beat up because of interest rates.
Yeah.
Let's talk about concessions real quick. What's a concession? What is that? What's a concession?
So it's just it's a way that a seller can contribute to the buyer getting into the property. We see that a lot now. So it's concession for the sellers giving a concession or giving money to the buyer in behalf of their closing costs. That's a legal way that the seller can help put the buyer in the house. They can't contribute toward down payment.
Gotcha. Okay.
So
it's like, hey, I can't do a down payment and I can't pay my title fees. But what I can do is I got approved for more than what your house is worth. So what I'll do is you're asking for $350. My closing costs and my down payment together sum up to $14,000. I'll add that $14,000 on top of your asking price, but that $14,000 is actually concessions that I can use so I can actually provide a down payment and pay for my closing costs.
yeah, because you may have the down payment, but you can't. You don't have the $14K or whatever it is to close the deal, and so with that, I mean, you're saying you can add it on top. Well, you absolutely can if it appraises
For that value.
for that value. But what we're seeing is people come in right now, and this is in the market right now, May 31st, 2024. I can tell you on every single contract I got this month in May, the full month, every single one had buyer concessions. They asked the seller to pay on behalf. So, and none of them came over ask. When we countered, they would counter back. They all came at ask with concessions or lower than ask and asking for those loan
Damn,
concessions.
so they'd get less than the asking price.
So you have to be. We're pricing stuff, and so we're telling traditional sellers the same thing as our investors or our own properties. We're pricing them aggressive. If you want them to move, they got to be. They don't have to be lower. They just have. I like to. What do we say? Like 3 to 5% lower than what maybe the previous comp.
So I'm glad you say that, because that kind of transitions into days on market.
Yeah, because that's your worst enemy, right? Because you can't, in this market, overpricing. If you get too greedy on what you think you could sell it for, then you stack up days on market, and that's your worst enemy, because people start doing two things. They'll either wonder what's wrong with it, like, okay, it's at that price, it's not moving, something must be wrong. Or you get somebody who's going to beat you, who's like, okay, I'll agree to that price, and then you get the binder back, and they beat you to death, and ask for a huge price reduction.
And that's why you mean, like, if aggressively. The reason why you're being aggressive is not just because of the like the concessions and everything. It's also because you want it to sell
Right.
within a certain period of time. You don't want it to be out there too long.
Right, and that's the thing. You're trying to capture the attention for the people that are at the very beginning, because we know at the very beginning all eyes are on the property. Comes out, new listing. If anybody's going to get excited, it's at that time.
Momentum is at the beginning.
Yeah.
It's at the very beginning. So you can lose that momentum very quickly. You can lose it in a week or two.
Yeah, once you lose it, it's gone.
Yeah.
Yeah, everybody's seen it already.
Yeah.
Yeah, and unless you got a new buyer entering into the market where they're like, oh, look at this property. But everybody that's already, been actively looking, they're checking Zillow or Homes.com every single day, and they're like, oh, this property just popped up. But once that's, it's okay, and once it doesn't fit the box or it doesn't catch their eye, they're like, oh, that's kind of steep, I'm looking for this certain price range. They let it go.
And that new buyer entering the market is going to see that it's got days on market on it. So
Yeah,
they
that's
may offer
true
you a
too.
lower price.
And so what we're seeing is if you can limit the days on market, we know that your best offers come at the very beginning.
Yeah, and we've taken like on our flips over the years, we get an offer. Let's say we list a property for, they say 200,000, and we get an offer for, let's say 195. Let's say we feel like if we hang in there, we'll probably be able to get 200, maybe even over. But we get an offer within the first couple of days of listing it. We've made decisions before where it's like, dude, let's just take it because this is the momentum wave. Your highest offer a lot of times comes at the very beginning.
Absolutely.
So just jump on it now. It's not,
Yeah.
Yeah, your best offers are always at the beginning. I mean, sure, if you're on the market long enough, you will find somebody probably to buy it, But at that time, I mean, you start stacking days, and as investors, so we're a podcast built for investor friendly. As an investor, you want speed. You want to turn your money. It's costing you
ROI.
money to have that property, to pay the taxes, to pay. I mean, you're not living there and enjoying that property. It's ready for sale. So every day you have that property, it's building up. And right now, the market's, not necessarily appreciating that to equal out the costs that as the days go by.
Yeah, holding on to it isn't the best move right now because the price isn't going to appreciate with you holding on to it like it was 2-3 years ago.
Yeah, 2-3 years ago, you could let it sit there and be like, yeah, I'm going to get it on the market in a couple months, and then a couple months go by, you're like, oh shoot, man, this property just closed in the same neighborhood, and when we bought it, we were using this comp, but now this one's $10,000 higher, so we can list ours, at that price now too. So we gained 10,000
just by it sitting there.
Just by it sitting there. I mean, we wouldn't have bought it on that appreciation, but we would have been like, yeah, that just adds money to the margin. But now that could happen opposite.
Yeah.
It could be like, oh shoot, that just closed. And that was a pretty nice house, but it closed for 5,000 less than the last comp, or at the same price. So you got to be right into that pocket.
Yeah, cash conversion cycle. You got to move your money.
Yeah, for
100%.
investors, I mean, we have to be realistic because a lot of our investors, they fall in love with it. That's what happens. You fall in love with the property. You're just like, oh man, it came out really nice.
Right.
And a lot of our guys do that.
Yeah.
They're like, hey, I know you said 179, but now I did this, and this. How about 200?
Yeah.
And you could get, like, I get kind of lost in that. Sometimes I'm like, yeah, I mean, it's beautiful. And you're like, wait a second here.
Let's look at the market.
And it's got to appraise too. So,
And let's talk about, bro, that lately they've been sending appraisers down from out of town.
yeah, because that is
What's
true.
going on, man? Why?
I'll tell you why. Appraisers need work. So it's slower. And so they're willing to travel into Yuma. We're seeing Tucson. I got a gal out of Parker.
So we don't have enough appraisers here.
Well, you do. You have enough appraisers, but they want part of the business too.
They get them for cheaper.
No, appraisals are still... No, nothing's gone down. This is inflation nation.
Man, some of these appraisals, man, they've been kind of crazy.
It's been a roller coaster.
Yeah.
If that, to go to the next point, I mean, the appraiser, if they don't know Yuma, you might be dead in the water.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
And
like
that's a
my brother up in Phoenix, he's like, you're not from here? Oh, you can't go in. He's like, another appraiser.
Yeah.
You could tell him that.
yeah.
Okay.
That's-
Well, that's
And next time that happens to us, I mean, and it's a different, like a different property, meaning that it's maybe
Unique.
a property, that's unique, that we know Yuma, we're like this section of Yuma or this area, and they come and they say, this isn't anything special.
yeah, 100%. Nothing against them. It's just like they're not making things easy, and they don't understand the town. They don't understand the real value of the property. Because we went and we talked to appraisers that we know to be like, hey, does this make sense? And they said, no, this doesn't make any sense at all. Why did it appraise at that point?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so sometimes as, the investors, they get all excited, they accept that higher offer, and then it doesn't appraise, and you're back down to where you were in the first place, which, I mean, there's nothing really lost. It's just,
Right.
it doesn't really help
Well,
the bottom line.
there could be something lost because your buyer might see like, oh crap, I offered a price that it didn't even appraise for. So now I'm gonna get cold feet, and I'm gonna, you know what?
Maybe I shouldn't be spending my money here.
Yeah, maybe I shouldn't be offering that much.
Well, yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
that could happen. I mean, I haven't seen it
Yeah.
recently, but that's a good point. I mean, that could happen.
I like the way you think, brother.
Yeah. Yeah. It could happen.
I mean, usually you negotiate back down to what it sold for.
Yeah. Usually that's what happens.
Yeah, but you could have somebody that gets cold feet. In the hot markets, you know, they were paying the difference of. So they were like, "Oh, we didn't appraise for
yeah.
it. I'll pay another $5,000 to get it."
Yeah. I got cash in the. Yeah.
So
Yeah. That was a
somebody would-
different market.
But I mean, we're definitely in a different market. Not saying that this is a bad market. Things are still moving.
Yeah.
We just sold a couple flips. You know, I mean, we can sell them in a day, a week.
Yeah. Your coach, Anthony, you do some coaching with her. I don't know if you still do, but you used to with Tom Ferry. And he said something one time that really stuck with me. I don't know if it was your individual coach or if it was a Tom Ferry like a live event, but he was giving advice to the agents about not saying that it's a crazy market, that it's just it's a different market. And we use that term around here because I hear it all the time around town. You know, people talk to us and it's crazy. It's a crazy market, huh? But in my head, I always think back to what he said. It's like, something like every market to somebody's going to be crazy, whether the prices, things are selling very fast or things are selling slow. It's just a
Right.
different market. You know, you can still do a good amount of business. You just have to pivot.
You don't want to make it sound so volatile because that's one of the things that happens in investment. It's like risk, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
You make it
people-
sound like it's a lot riskier than it is.
Yeah, and it could scare your clients
Yeah.
away. Like, oh, yeah, it's a crazy market out there.
Yeah,
but-
like I'm not
yeah.
going to buy in a crazy market.
Right.
Mhm.
Exactly.
And that's true. I mean, because people, they're on edge right now. I mean, not just in real estate in the world, but they're on edge. They're like any
Everyone.
little thing could just be like, nope,
Mhm.
sorry. I mean, we've countered back recently like $1,500 on some of my traditional clients, and I tell them, "You sure you want to do that?" Because I'm seeing a lot of people just, this is my number. I'm gonna offer it to you. If I don't get it, I'm gonna be very disciplined, and I'm gonna walk. And I've seen it recently several times.
Mm-hmm.
And so you just have to be, it's a real delicate situation. It's like you said, it's not crazy. It's just people are being more, I think people are being more cautious.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Well, here, I'll tell you why they're being so cautious. What's the average price here in Yuma?
Right now, I mean, I remember when it was like 250, but I think it's like 320. 320,000 is the median.
And then let's say they go conventional. That's 5%, right?
Yeah, 5% down.
Which would be, someone do the math.
5% down, 320 was
Mhm.
at 1550, 15,500, roughly. Don't be quizzing me, Felix.
And then,
Does math, ain't
well,
math.
usually it's a calculator we use. And then interest rate 7.25, 6.75, 7%,
No, 7.5.
7.5.
Where are you from?
The
2000.
The
In a
math
time
and
warp
math
machine
and Planet of the Apes.
from
I
2000,
wish. Yuma, Arizona. Okay.
2020.
Okay, so just so y'all see this, okay, we're talking about a home, 320,000 average with a 15,500 down payment, interest rate of 7.5%, 30-year amortization. That's a $2,660 mortgage.
Wow. That's
Wow.
BITI.
Almost 2,700 a
Yeah.
month, and that's including taxes. Taxes like 211, home insurance 320, mortgage payment PI 2129. All
Yeah.
adds up together to almost 2,700 a month.
Yeah, and the affordability factor is something that I think we'll talk about on the next podcast.
Mm-hmm.
But that's something that's huge right now for a lot of people. Like anything over,
Well, like, could you rent a 300 and what did we say? How much?
yeah. Well, like
320?
what could you rent that
320.
out for? Like,
I mean,
it's-
could you go rent that? I mean,
For 2,600? No.
yeah,
You're
you
fucking-
could.
For 2,600?
2,600?
You could go rent.
Oh, you could go rent. Yeah, I thought
could
you meant
you rent it
it
out?
Yeah, I
no.
thought you meant rent it out.
Yeah,
Yeah,
no,
and so
no.
did I.
Yeah, you can't rent it out for that. So
no.
if you're a buyer, you're like, well, why would I buy right now?
Right. I could just go rent and wait for the interest rates to drop. I'm going to spend less money in the long run if I do that.
I mean, and a lot of people, they don't like that saying, marry the house, date the rate.
Mhm.
But that's the reality. That sounds kind of, gimmicky. But in reality, here's the reality. If mortgage rates drop, prices will go up because we still have a supply issue. It's still supply and demand. It's just demand is relinquished because you don't have as many buyers in that price range because they were forced out with the higher interest rates. So when rates do go down, the prices may not drastically go up, but you'll have a lot more demand.
Yeah. That's what I was worried about. When I was looking for a home, I was like, no, I know I can wait, but then by the time I wait, price is going to go up, blah, blah, blah. But hey, it's part of the game. It's the way it goes.
So like there's going to be a period where rates start dropping and people will react, like a lot of buyers will start to come back into the market. And if you're already in it, there's going to be a spot where you're going to get a pretty good rate and you probably get the house that you want for the price you want.
And you got to be one of the first ones because
that's going to be like risky,
Yeah. Don't you have to be one of the first ones to like buy the property because then people the developers they're gonna be like, oh, people are buying, go up the prices.
Yeah, I mean it switches quick, so that's when it's like your family is like if you're a buyer, it makes sense if it's your family, you just got to buy. But if it's an investment, maybe as an investor, maybe you're a little bit more selective, and we're seeing that.
Yeah.
We're seeing a lot of like buy and hold guys, unless they get a deep discount, they're kind of pumping the brakes.
So we'll actually, let's talk about that on the next one because I have so many things I want to talk about. I want to talk about buy downs and everything, what it actually means. But I think we're kind of moving off topic here on what the real estate selling process looks like and what you can expect. And we talked about days on market. Properties.
Yeah, so for investors, days on market, the way you present the property this is so for investors, not for a homeowner. Say it's vacant, okay? But leaving, things out, material out, you want to clean all that up, put it in the garage, tuck it away. And a lot of the times what we see with investors is they rush it. They're like, yep, it's ready to be listed. And, there's stuff that it's not buttoned up.
Everything matters.
Yeah,
so I like to make sure that it's before you show it to anybody is, hey, make sure you, like a lot of investors, they wait for like an appliance or something. It's like, just wait a day or two.
Buyers are like groundhogs. Like is that the one that like if they see their shadow or something, they go back in?
Right.
It's like that, man. They go see a property. Everything has to be a certain way. And if they see something, they're like, okay, no, we're out of here.
Yeah. Buyers are fickle. You could have somebody that their house is like, they have this unrealistic expectation, but I've seen buyers where their house, like I've seen their personal house, and then they go into a house and they like have it under a magnifying. I'm like, well, that house is
better than yours.
Yeah, and
the one you currently have.
Yeah, and just to be real, this house is gonna look like your house currently in a couple months once you start living there anyways.
Right.
And which is fine. That's the way you live.
Yeah.
Or whatever. But they want it to look like, like a magazine.
Right.
In reality you're going to live in it. But at the very beginning, it's like, it's like dating a girl. And she, she goes out on her first date. She's looking the best she can, but maybe 10 years, 15 years down the road, not my wife, but 10 years, 15 years down the road, are they putting makeup on every day? Are they getting the new outfit but I guarantee you at the very beginning, she's buying a new outfit. And the same for guys. They're buying new shoes and looking their best.
Going to the gym.
Going to the gym, right. And so first impression's everything.
Yeah.
And then as soon as they get after that comfort zone, all right, let it all just here's the baggage on both ends.
Oh, Felix.
This is what I did not tell you, and like, oh well, this is what I didn't tell you.
Exactly.
Out.
It all comes out. But so the reality is, be a little patient at the front end. Make sure it's photoed correctly. Make sure you get it in this condition where because you have the ability to do so. Don't cut the corner at the very last minute. Everybody just starts getting so nervous because reality is you're going to be at the top of your budget. Let's just put it. No one's in budget hardly ever.
Calculate that, man. If you're an investor, you're going to be purchasing a property and putting it on the market. Make sure you account for cleanup and making sure that it's staged right.
Yeah. So here's the thing: like days on market are important. So it might take you 10 days say it's going to take you another week because you're waiting for something or somebody to come do something to get it on the market. It's better to be patient and wait, because if you rush it and you put it on the market and not in the condition that it, maybe it needs to be at.
Yeah, your I's aren't dotted, T's aren't crossed.
Yeah.
Those
Then guess
10 days
what?
that you could have waited become a
20 days on the market.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Because it didn't show, because your best buyers went and saw it at the very beginning and they were like, nah, they didn't do everything, or they're like, maybe these people cut corners, or
Yeah.
they didn't even clean up. I mean,
yeah.
and what else is wrong with this house?
20
true.
days on market more for that 10-day, and also you got a lower offer maybe of $15,000.
Yeah.
That's true. Yeah.
So yeah, I think that pretty much gets us where we need to go.
Yeah.
Get it listed and
Yeah, so I think that's a good way to end it off. One little tip before we end it off here. I think something that's really underrated, and we've gotten like a lot of hits off of social media, like Anthony's social media. Like he'll put it's important to build some momentum on the front end before you even list it, like coming soon or coming soon, newly remodeled property, shoot some videos. Anthony sells deals like that on social media, just puts on his Instagram story or something. That's really underrated, I think.
yeah. Typically, we can get the property moved, because and lenders are looking at our social media, buyers are looking at it, and so or they hit you up, hey, what do you have coming? And so investors, you got to utilize that.
Right.
Make sure you're putting it up and promoting yours, because we see a lot of people. It's not a secret. It's not like it's this present that you're going to unwrap. You want to let as many people as you know
Right.
know what you got coming.
Yep.
And then also if you're an investor and you're trying to sell a rental where it's occupied, that is also part of the sellability. Really, really communicate with the tenants, homeowners or whatever, to make sure they're not there. Because it's best, because last thing you want is for potential buyers to show up and then the current tenant just eyeing them.
Yes.
Eyeing them or being like, oh, yeah,
Or who are you? What are you doing here?
Yeah.
Or be present. Like, make sure your real estate agent is present, or
Yeah.
you have somebody on your team present for the showing. Like, don't get lazy on that.
Yeah, you got to control the vibe.
Yeah, 100%.
Be
You
there,
got to
open the
control the
door.
first impression, yeah.
Be like, hey, how you doing?
Yeah.
And welcome them in and prep the renter. Like,
If they
hey,
get some sense of hostility or whatever you want to call it
That's a break.
from the very beginning, it doesn't matter. It's done.
It's done.
Yeah,
Yeah,
they don't want it. They don't want it.
because it could be nothing. Not like you're trying to hide anything.
Yeah.
But the reality is tenants, they're complainers.
Mm-hmm.
They're typically going to complain.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So they'll like every little thing, they would let it go in their house. But if it's like, oh yeah, no, the toilet, it's loose.
Or they're very broad. They're like, oh man, has this huge issue. It hasn't been fixed forever. Are you gonna fix it or whatever? And it's not even like something huge. It's something super simple that they could do themselves, but they want the landlord to do it for some reason.
Exactly.
then-
And that's huge, Felix. I'm glad you said that. I mean, prepping your tenants, as if you're going to sell your rental properties, is humongous. I think that's a great tidbit that people overlook all the time.
Yeah.
So me as an investor, we're going to go, Bailey's going to go check out a property. The question's going to be like, hey, is there anything you'd like to tell me about the property?
Yeah.
And then you get all the background on it. Now we have to take that with a grain of salt, just like Felix said, but they'll give you some insight on it. And we've had that several times.
Yeah, we have. So I think that's pretty good for right there. And we're actually going to end this real quick, but then jump right back in because I want to talk about affordability.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, let's
All
go.
right, let's do it. The video has been ended. Okay, disconnected, reconnecting.
That was our buddy.